Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Daybreak, South Korea warns North Korea has taken huge strides militarily over the last 2 years and now has the technology to miniaturize nuclear warheads. North Korea criticizes South Korea for doing nothing to stop activists flying hundreds of thousands of anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border earlier this week. Plus, South Korea's rival parties agree on a bill to compensate the families of the victims and the survivors of the Sewol-ho ferry disaster. Daybreak begins now.
Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. And we start with the warning from South Korea's Defense Ministry that North Korea now has the technological know-how to miniaturize nuclear weapons. That finding was among a handful of worrying military developments in the north that were contained within the ministry's white paper that is published every 2 years. Our Connie Kim reports.
South Korea says North Korea appears to have made significant advancements in its military capabilities. This in particular in the North's capability to make nuclear warheads small enough to fit on ballistic missiles.
8 years have passed since North Korea carried out its first nuclear test in 2006. Pyongyang's miniaturization of nuclear weapons would appear to have reached a significant level.
Seoul's defense ministry says this could be a major threat as nuclear warheads could reach the U.S. mainland if successfully mounted to ballistic missiles. This marks the first time for South Korea's defense ministry to evaluate North Korea's nuclear technology capabilities. South Korea sees more growth in North Korea's ballistic missile technology. Its Taepodong-2 long-range missile is evaluated to have a range of 10,000 kilometers compared to 6,700 kilometers in the past. North Korea's military has also grown by an estimated 10,000 soldiers from 2012 to a total of 1.2 million. Now that's nearly double the size of South Korea's forces. But what's not changed in the latest white paper was South Korea calling North Korea as its, quote, enemy. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea has scolded South Korea for doing nothing to stop a group of North Korean defectors from flying more than 500,000 anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border earlier this week. The North state-run Korean Central News Agency on Tuesday urged Seoul to ban the leaflet drive and blamed the South for not stepping in to stop the activists. Pyongyang went on to say that improving inter-Korean relations cannot be a one-way street and asked Seoul to clarify that it has the will to engage in sincere dialogue. North Korea is extremely sensitive about the scattering of these leaflets, even going so far as to renege on an agreement to hold high-level talks with South Korea late last year. President Park Geun-hye has called on North Korea to swiftly come to inter-Korean dialogue. Her remarks came during the first cabinet meeting of the year on Tuesday, pointing out that many obstacles have held inter-Korean relations back from progressing. The president said she was relieved to hear Pyongyang intends to engage in talks.
북한은 조속히 남북 간 대화와 협력의 장으로 나와서 우리와 한반도의 평화 정착 또 통일을 위한 구체적인 사업을 실질적으로 협의해 주기를 바랍니다.
Referring to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's New Year's speech, she said it was significant, especially as this year marks the 70th anniversary since the two Koreas were divided. The president put a lot of emphasis on setting up a good foundation for dialogue, adding that at this point, it's crucial Pyongyang backs up its words with sincere action. Now, following Washington's latest sanctions on North Korea, some lawmakers in the U.S. are urging the government to relist Pyongyang as a state sponsor of terrorism. But what effect could this have on possible upcoming talks between the two Koreas? Our Hwang Sang-hee reports.
The latest U.S. sanctions on North Korea following its cyber attack on Sony Pictures have sparked fresh discussions among lawmakers in Washington.
What happened here is that North Korea landed a virtual bomb on Sony's parking lot and ultimately had real consequences to it as a company and to many individuals who work there.
Some are even calling on President Barack Obama to follow through on his pledge to review relisting North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. Representative Eliana Ross-Lehtinen said in a statement that North Korea should have never been taken off the list and added she will reintroduce legislation to redesignate the regime as a state sponsor of terrorism as a means of putting more pressure on Pyongyang. The White House is taking a cautious stance, saying such a move requires a very specific technical justification. However, the U.S. State Department said the new executive order is the first aspect of Washington's response, noting there are ongoing discussions about other options. Analysts say the heightened tensions between the U.S. and North Korea will not affect the new momentum between the two Koreas for now.
Relations between North Korea and the United States were bad before South Korea proposed interKorean talks. Since both Koreas agree on the need for dialogue and the leaders have shown a willingness, I expect North Korea to make a counter-proposal for talks in the near future.
But should Pyongyang launch a violent protest, analysts expect discussions on additional U.S. sanctions to expand and warn those tensions could quickly trickle through to the Korean peninsula. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
Now, the South Korean government wants Japan to remove an online video that promotes a false claim to Korea's Dokdo Island. Seoul's foreign ministry spokesperson said the video, which was posted last month, not only makes an unjustified claim, but also represents a serious provocation. With the aim of using the 17-minute YouTube video in schools, Japan says its sovereignty over the islets in the 17th century proves its claim. The ministry spokesperson added it was unfortunate Japan is educating future generations with a video that includes a distorted view of history. Korea's rival political parties have agreed on how much to compensate the families of those who lost their lives in last April's Sewol-ho ferry disaster. The bill that was agreed upon on Tuesday features the establishment of a special committee under the Prime Minister's office, which will decide how much each family will receive. The parties decided to first use the $114 million donated by citizens and businesses when compensating the families, and will provide additional amounts from state coffers if necessary. The high school students who survived the sinking will be given extra privileges when they apply for university, and a trauma centre will be set up to manage their mental health in the years to come. The rival parties also plan to pass this special Sewol-ho compensation bill at a plenary session next Monday.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
5 nations have raised objections at the World Trade Organization about Korea's increased tariffs on imported rice. The United States, China, Australia, Thailand and Vietnam have taken issue with the steps taken by Korea to open up its rice market in recent months. Now, after a 20-year grace period, Korea made the shift starting this year, setting a rather startling tariff of 513% on rice imports that exceed the annual quota, which currently stands at just over 400,000 tons of rice. Korea's ambassador at the WTO, Choi Sok-young, says the South Korean government will hold talks with the 5 countries, but it's going to tell them that the tariff rate needs to stay as it is, since it's designed to protect the domestic rice industry. After 4 straight months of decline, Korea's foreign exchange reserves bounced back in December. According to data released by the Bank of Korea, foreign currency reserves reached over $363 billion at the end of last month. That's up $500 million from the previous month. The central bank attributed the increase to profits derived from investments in financial products, and that includes asset management gains. In the 4-month period through the end of November, the weakening euro and repayment of foreign exchange stabilization bonds caused reserves to contract. Now, Hyundai Motor Group, Korea's largest automaker, has laid out how it plans to invest in facilities and R&D in the next few years, and it really isn't holding back at all. Our Kim Ji-yeon has the details.
Korea's largest automaker, Hyundai Motor Group, plans to devote $73 billion to facilities and R&D investments from now through 2018. That's around $18 billion a year, $1 billion more than the government's spending for national R&D investment. 85% of that total will go toward improving performance standards and developing hybrids and smart cars. Another $10 billion will be set aside to build the auto group's new business complex on acquired land in the Seoul district of Gangnam.
With the investment plan, we aim to raise our brand value and lay the foundation to lead the global market by 2018.
An estimated $56 billion, or 3/4 of Hyundai's investments, will be concentrated in Korea. The company also plans to recruit around 7,400 people during the next 4 years. The investment plan is expected to help Hyundai Motor and its sister company Kia Motors meet its global sales target of 8.2 million automobiles in 2015. The automakers are estimated to have sold a combined 8 million units globally last year, which would be a record. This despite unfavorable currency conditions and the slow global recovery. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
And while we're on the topic of research and development funding, Samsung Electronics has ranked second in the world in terms of R&D spending for 2 consecutive years now. Citing figures filed by the European Commission, the Korea Institute of Science and Technology Evaluation and Planning says Samsung poured $12 billion into research and development in 2013. German automaker Volkswagen topped the list at $14 billion. Microsoft and Intel came in at 3rd and 4th, respectively. Now, 3 Korean firms, including Samsung Electronics, ranked in the top 100. LG Electronics was 49th on the list, while Hyundai Motor scraped in 2013 at 99th. Now, the world's biggest tech brands, including Samsung Electronics, are in Sin City, Las Vegas, for the 2015 Consumer Electronics Show. From intelligent cars to high-tech TVs, our Connie Lee walks us through the hottest trends at this year's event.
It's one of the world's biggest tech gadget fairs, involving about 3,600 companies. The Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas kicks off on Tuesday. More than 150,000 tech heads are set to visit for a first look at the next big thing. So what are some of the trends this year? Judging from the products already announced, it looks like some high-tech TVs will play a big role. 4K TVs, otherwise known as Ultra HD televisions, may go mainstream this year. They're defined by their displays, which have 4 times the resolution as their HD counterparts. Both LG and Samsung will be presenting a number of these models at the show, including Samsung's new Tizen-powered curved 4K TV. And how about some autonomous connected cars?
The autonomous car will be a big topic at CES. All the major auto manufacturers come to this show. They come here to show off the ways in which their cars are working with your smartwatch, with your phone.
Major automakers like Mercedes-Benz and BMW are set to display their latest intelligent cars. Wearable smart devices will also take center stage. Hundreds of companies will show off their latest wearable products, including different accessories designed to work with these devices. The growth of 3D printers, robotics, and drones will also be a hot trend this year, with the buzz phrase, the Internet of Things, being one of the major themes.
The Internet of Things is a really general term that stands in for devices talking to each other without you across the Internet.
The international CES is set to run through Friday. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the global headlines we're following this Wednesday morning in Seoul. For that, we turn to Eunice Kim at the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. The multinational search team scouring the seas off Borneo Island for remnants of AirAsia Flight 8501 detected 2 large metal objects, but still no sign of the black box. Indonesia's Search and Rescue Agency said Tuesday a U.S. search team spotted the objects via sonar, but that they will have to go in to verify that they are indeed plane debris. Experts are baffled that sophisticated tracking equipment have failed to pick up any so-called pings from the black box, believed to be somewhere in the relatively shallow waters between 30 to 40 meters deep. Some experts believe silt could be blocking the signals from the transmitters. Strong currents continue to complicate search efforts. On Tuesday, 2 more bodies were found, bringing the total to 39, still less than a third of the 162 passengers the plane was carrying, most of them Indonesian and 3 of them Korean. Medical experts warn the bodies will begin to sink within 10 to 14 days after entering the water, signaling a more challenging recovery effort with each passing day. A female suicide bomber has struck a police station in the tourist hub of Sultanahmet, Turkey, leaving 1 officer dead and another wounded. It's the second attack on police in a week in that country, this time near a historic district close to the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia Museum. Authorities are working to identify the deceased woman and her motive. No group has immediately claimed responsibility. Istanbul's governor told Turkish TV the woman reported a lost wallet before detonating herself and that she spoke with a thick accent. Just hours ago, U.S. House Speaker John Boehner was narrowly re-elected to his 3rd term in the post as Republicans took full control of both chambers of Congress, a first in 8 years. He said the GOP will work with President Barack Obama to move forward on jobs, energy, and veterans issues. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also expressed optimism entering his term, though he admitted that hard work laid ahead. President Barack Obama congratulated them both and hoped for a productive 2015. Meanwhile, over in Cape Canaveral, Florida, a supply flight to the International Space Station was called off just about a minute before takeoff. SpaceX chief Elon Musk tweeted the team spotted a malfunction in the steering mechanism of the rocket, saying it was behaving strangely. SpaceX was to deliver science experiments, groceries, and overdue Christmas presents to 6 astronauts out in space. It was delayed twice last month due to a flawed test firing of the rocket engines.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Games. Now on Monday, the governor of Gangwon Province, Choi Moon-soon, stated that co-hosting the event with North Korea would be a symbol of peace and great for both nations. But the organizers are still against the idea. Now on Tuesday, the organizing committee's Vice President Kwak Young-jin came out stating that they refuse to co-host with any other countries, even if it's North Korea. Kwak added that the governor's comments were, quote, inappropriate comments that disappointed the people of South Korea. Now, with the Pyeongchang Winter Games a little more than 3 years away now, organizers continue to remain busy, making sure all the constructions will be complete in time. Now, some of the athletes here in the nation are so popular that they're technically celebrities. And one of those athletes is rhythmic gymnast Son Yeon-jae. And today, she's headed over to Russia in preparations for her 2015 season. Now, the 20-year-old rhythmic gymnast, who had 11 consecutive podium finishes in the World Cup events and a bronze medal at the 2014 World Championships, prepares for the new season as she'll leave to Moscow today. Of course, with 4 new programs for the new season, there's a lot of work to be done for her, as she stated the importance of the 2015 season, since it'll practically be a preparation for the 2016 Rio Summer Games, where she hopes to win Korea's first Olympic medal in the sport. Now, if you take a look back at last year, Hyo Joo was one of the hottest stars in the sporting world, and the new year kicked off well for her as she jumped up again in the latest world rankings. Now, not a lot of changes in the latest world rankings, except for the 19-year-old Hyo Joo, who passed Ryu So-yeon for 7th in the Rolex World Rankings. After winning 3 majors in the KLPGA, 1 major title in the LPGA last season, she's expected to have a big season this year as well, as many believe that her ranking will continue to climb in 2015. Meanwhile, Park In-bi and Lydia Ko remain 1st and 2nd in the world rankings. The 2015 Asian Cup is now 2 days away, and the Korean national football team hopes to win their first title in 55 years. And while it's expected that the team will struggle a bit due to the lack of offense, the Australian media, well, they have their eyes on Son Heung-min to thrive. And according to News.com, Son Heung-min is one of the 10 must-watch footballers during the 2015 Asian Cup, as they expect the midfielder to do the big things for the Korean national football team. They added that Son Heung-min has the ability to beat Australia, as Korea is grouped with the host nation in Group A. And finishing things off in the majors, after winning the World Series, it's an honor all major leaguers seek a place in Cooperstown as a Hall of Famer. And on Tuesday, U.S. time, 4 legends were elected, including 3 first-time ballots. Now, heading over to Cooperstown will be Randy Johnson, John Smoltz, Pedro Martinez, and Craig Biggio, with the 3 pitchers getting the call in their first year in ballot, while the former Houston Astro gets the nod in his 3rd try. Now, Johnson, Smoltz, and Martinez were one of the most dominating pitchers in the 90s and into the new decade, with Craig Biggio hitting over 3,000 hits in 20 years, all with the Houston Astros. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, I'm Lee Ji-yeon here with your latest weather updates. Now, the bone-chilling temperatures have returned, except Jeju Island. The whole nation is waking up to sub-zero readings this morning. And here in Seoul, the current temperature is at about -8 degrees Celsius, but the strong gusty winds are dropping down the sensory temperatures to near -13, so be sure to cover up before heading out. And mostly sunny skies are in store throughout the day, but people in the east will continue to suffer from the dry weather, as the dry weather advisory is still in place for those regions. Also, the cold wave watch has been issued for parts of Gangwon-do provinces. So again, dress accordingly to avoid catching a cold today. And here are the readings for today. Now, the low in Seoul is kicking off at -8, then the high will climb up to -2, and Daegu and Gwangju should peak at 3, and Busan will top out at 6 this afternoon. And let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju Island will be rising to 5, while Daejeon and Dokdo will peak at 1 and 2 respectively, and Mount Gyeongang will remain quite cold, with highs only peaking at -7. But that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's going to do it for now. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, because Korea Today is coming up at the top of the hour. Goodbye.